This podcast is brought to you by The Senior Techie, a source of information for seniors and others about technology. Welcome back to the Senior Techie podcast. Today, I want to start with a little mental exercise. When I say environmental activist, who pops into your head? Be honest.
I think for most people, the image that comes to mind is, a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe someone in their early 20s.
Right. Holding a sign, marching, maybe yelling into a megaphone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Greta Thunberg archetype. Very public, very loud.
But according to the research we're looking at today, that image is getting a major update. The Senior Techie says there's a quiet revolution happening,
Mm-hmm.
and it isn't on the streets. It's happening in living rooms, on iPads,
Yeah.
and the people leading the charge are older adults.
It's such a fascinating shift. We're seeing this incredible intersection of two things that, usually seem totally separate.
Which are?
On one hand, you've got digital literacy, just learning how to use your devices.
Yeah.
And on the other, environmental stewardship. The Senior Techie says that for adults over 55, these two worlds are really starting to merge.
Which is interesting because, let's be real, the usual story about seniors in tech is about catching up.
Right. Learning Zoom so you don't get left behind.
Exactly. But this is different. This isn't about fear. It's about utility.
That is the key.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about abstract things like saving the polar bears, though that's important, of course.
Of course.
But the Senior Techie really emphasizes the practical benefits. We were talking about reducing your monthly bills on a fixed income, finding a community.
And learning at a pace that actually works for you without stress.
Oh,
I love that. So the idea is that the smartphone you just upgraded to or the tablet you use for FaceTime, those are the gateways.
Precisely. You don't need a fancy degree. Just curiosity and an internet connection. The device is just the tool.
Okay, so let's unpack this, maybe starting with the learning part. Because honestly, the idea of going back to school to learn about climate change can feel pretty intimidating.
It really can be. Traditional environmental education.
Mm.
Well, it assumes a lot. It assumes you can travel to a workshop, sit in an uncomfortable chair for hours.
Oh, I've been there. And you try to keep up with the presenter who's just clicking through slides at 100 miles an hour.
And you miss one thing, you look down to write a note, and when you look up, you're completely lost. It's stressful.
It is.
And that stress, it just kills the joy of learning. But the Senior Techie highlights how online learning completely removes that pressure. This is what we call the new classroom.
Okay, so what does this new classroom look like?
Well, there are resources designed specifically for this audience. For instance, Cornell University has a program called RISE,
RISE. Sounds official. What's it stand for?
Retirees in Service to the Environment. And it's brilliant. It's designed for adults over 60, and it knows they don't just want to read things on a screen.
I want to do something.
Exactly. So it's hands-on. There are field trips, community projects. They cover everything from water quality to waste management. It's engaging.
That does sound engaging. But what if you don't want a whole university program? Say you just keep hearing about carbon footprints and you just want to understand what that is.
That's where platforms like Coursera come in. And the Senior Techie points out a really underrated advantage here: the pause and rewind factor.
The pause button, the unsung hero of the digital age.
It really is. I mean, think about that lecture hall again. If a professor says a word you don't know, you might feel a little foolish raising your hand.
Or you just stay quiet and fall behind.
Right. But online,
Uh.
you just hit pause. You open a new tab, you look it up, and then you press play. You're in total control.
It turns learning from a stress test into something, manageable. You can do it at your own pace.
Exactly. And there are initiatives like Seniors for Change that combine these skills. They teach you how to use the computer while you're learning about sustainability.
So you're building two skill sets at once. That's efficient.
It is. And it connects you with a community. That's the other big piece. These courses often have discussion forums.
That's not so lonely.
Not at all. And everyone's in the same boat, learning the tech and the topic. So you can ask questions without feeling silly. It builds confidence in both areas.
It's a confidence loop. The more you do, the better you feel. Okay, so we've covered the brain. Let's talk about the wallet. This is where the Senior Techie says things get really tangible.
Right. We hear about smart homes and think it's all futuristic, expensive stuff. But for seniors, it's really a tool for financial stability.
Gadgets that pay for themselves. My favorite kind.
Hmm.
Let's start with the big one, heating and cooling.
The thermostat. It's usually the biggest energy hog in any house. And the Senior Techie gives us some hard numbers from Nest Research.
Okay, what are we talking?
Homeowners with a smart thermostat save about 10 to 12% on heating and 15% on cooling.
So what does that actually look like in, dollars and cents?
It translates to roughly $131 to $145 a year, every year.
That's a couple of weeks of groceries. That's real money,
Yeah.
especially on a fixed income.
It is. And you don't need the most expensive model. The senior techie mentions the Amazon Smart Thermostat is a great budget-friendly option. It works with Alexa, so you get voice control.
Which is huge if you have mobility issues. No fiddling with tiny dials on the wall.
Exactly. And it learns your routine. It lowers the temperature automatically when you're out or asleep. But there's another really important feature here,
What's that?
the remote control, the caregiver angle. An adult child or a caregiver can actually monitor and adjust the settings from their own phone.
So if I go away for the weekend and forget to turn down the heat, my daughter could do it for me from her house.
Precisely. Or she could warm the house up for you before you get home. It's comfort, it's savings, and it's peace of mind for everyone.
That is fantastic. Now, what's this phantom power thing you mentioned? Sounds a bit spooky.
It is a bit spooky for your electric bill. It's the electricity your devices use, even when they're turned off.
You're kidding. My coffee maker is costing me money while I'm sleeping.
It is. And your PV, your computer, if it's plugged in, it's sipping power. But the problem is, nobody wants to crawl under a desk to unplug everything every night.
Right, I'm not doing that, especially if it's a fall risk.
And you shouldn't have to. The fix is a smart power strip. The senior techie explains that these can detect inactivity. If your TV isn't on, the strip just cuts the power to it.
So it does the crawling under the desk for you?
Essentially, yes.
Hmm.
It eliminates the waste without you having to do a thing.
I like that. What about lighting? We've all been told to switch to LEDs.
And for good reason. They last for years, which means fewer trips up a shaky ladder to change a bulb. That's a huge safety benefit.
For sure.
But the senior techie also points to motion sensor lights. Think about hallways, stairs, bathrooms.
Oh, the ones that turn on when you walk in?
Yes, they save energy, of course. But the real value is safety. It lights up your path in the dark automatically. It can significantly reduce the risk of a fall.
Safety meets savings. That's a winning combo. Okay, so we're saving money, but we're bringing in new tech. What do we do with the old stuff? I think we all have that drawer.
The drawer of doom. We all have one.
We do. Full of old flip phones and chargers. And just throwing that in the trash is a big no-no, right?
It's a major issue. The senior techie reminds us those electronics leach toxins, lead, mercury into our soil and water. But getting rid of it responsibly can be confusing.
So help us out. Where do we go?
Well, the simplest solution is often a retail one. Best Buy. They have the largest retail collection program in the country.
Really? How much have they collected?
Over 2 billion pounds of electronics.
2 billion. Wow. And what are the rules? Can I just show up with a car full of old stuff?
Well, keep it reasonable. It's usually up to 3 items per household per day. But the best part is no appointment needed. You just walk in. And they take almost everything. Computers, TVs, even microwaves.
That is convenient. But how do I know it's actually getting recycled properly? You hear stories.
That's a valid concern. The senior techie says to look for the EPA certification. There are 2 standards to look for, R2 and E-Stewards. If a recycler has those, you know they're being audited and the materials are handled safely.
Okay, R2 or E-Stewards. Got it. Now, what about donating? What if my old tablet still works just fine?
This is where you can really make a difference. There are some incredible programs. For example, Tech4 All Tennessee. They refurbish devices for digital literacy training.
So your old device helps someone else learn how to use a device. I love that.
Exactly. They've kept 2 million pounds of e-waste out of landfills that way. And then there's the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence.
Oh, wow. How does that work?
They partner with a group called Cellular Recycler. You send them old phones or laptops. They wipe the data completely, refurbish them, and the money funds domestic violence prevention.
That's so powerful. You're clearing out clutter, helping the planet, and funding a critical cause.
It's a triple win. And it's getting easier, too. States like Oregon and California are expanding what you can recycle, modems, routers, things like that.
That's great news. Okay, so we've covered hardware. What about software? There has to be an app for this, right?
Of course. And the senior techie has a few that are really user-friendly and make this stuff tangible.
Okay, give us the list.
First, there's Drop Gunter. It's for water usage. It tracks how much you use, and more importantly, it helps you spot leaks.
So it could save you from a huge water bill surprise.
Exactly. Then there's iRecycle. This is for all that hard-to-recycle stuff. You type in batteries or light bulbs, and it uses your location to tell you exactly where to take them.
That solves the where do I go problem instantly.
Mm-hmm. And there's Good Guide. This one rates products on their health and environmental impact while you're in the store.
So you can make a better choice right there in the aisle. And what about the electricity use we talked about?
There are energy monitor apps for that. They connect to the smart plugs and show you visually which appliance is costing you the most. When you see that your old space heater is costing you $3 a day.
It motivates you to change. It's not abstract anymore. Hearing all this, I'm realizing something. We started this talking about digital literacy and environmentalism as separate things.
But they're not. They're really the same tool set. And this is the big takeaway the Senior Techie suggests. Learning tech feels so much less intimidating when it serves a concrete purpose.
Right. If you just say, learn this app, it feels like homework.
But if you say, learn this app because it will lower your heating bill by 15%, suddenly you have a real reason. The tech becomes a means to an end.
You're not learning tech, you're solving a problem.
Precisely. And we have to emphasize the senior advantage here. Older adults bring so much to this movement. Life experience, patience, dedication. Digital literacy is just the key that unlocks all of that.
I love that. You have the wisdom, the tech is just the microphone.
That is a beautiful way to put it.
So here's my question for you listening at home. We've talked about a lot today: smart strips, learning platforms, recycling apps. If you just picked just one of these tools, how might that small tech step change your daily routine? Or maybe your monthly budget?
It all starts with one small step.
It does. That quiet revolution we talked about at the beginning, it's waiting for you to join.
Indeed.
This podcast was brought to you by The Senior Techie. It's available on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. If you'd like to keep up with their newsletters, you can subscribe for free by going to theseniortechie.com. Thanks for listening.